Good morning, nicotine in the world. I've been wanting to reply to this video for a couple days. I'm doing a quick upload. If the audio sync is still out, sorry, but I want to make a video and the regular software is too daunting. I don't feel like doing it. So we're going to try this again and hopefully it'll work. Well, it's all ready to defend my version of spirituality. And as far as needing new words, I call my spirituality material spirituality. But I'm not going to give up some claim over the word spirituality. There's a battle over what that word means and how it should be understood. And I don't see it as a dogmatic battle of, oh, I want my dogma to win. No, it's a basic epistemological battle of how we will process this. Even though we're going to get to different conclusions about what spirituality really means to us and to us as individuals and all of us, there's still room for some agreement on how we're starting this. Because there's agreement in all epistemology, that, or should be, that we start from perceptions. So I was all set to defend my version of spirituality until you got to the point, because you're pretty derisive, and some of the descriptions were similar to what I believe, but then you got to definitions that you didn't think were bullshit. And I think the very first one was basically material spirituality. We start with this idea that spirituality is related to this feeling of wonder and awe that you can get. And it's very loose, right? Maybe it's all wonder and awe, or maybe it's a specific kind. We'll leave that. We don't necessarily know. But we have feelings that we can point to, that we can indicate, and call those feelings spiritual experiences, or feelings that, made us feel spiritual about an experience, or that we got because the experience was spiritual. Okay, again, the grammar, and which are the verbs, and which are whether they're passive, and which are the subjects and objects. That might be rearranged, but we have a very loose starting with. And that's the way we start everything, right? All knowledge is from indication. All knowledge comes from perception. So at some point we're saying, well, we've had these perceptions, and there's this pattern of perceptions, and it's repeating. We're calling the pattern the following. I'll point at the pattern, point at the word. That word means that feeling. Now, it could turn out that there's something essentially elusive about those feelings. Maybe we've miscategorized. Maybe there's all different kinds of wonder, and we're just shoving them together, and they shouldn't be, for example. Um, it could be that the feeling is associated with, that's how you feel when you lose brain cells. Okay, but we have reason not to think that because we have other sets of feelings. So, for example, lust. We care a lot about sex. We put more thought into these lustful feelings, even though they, like spirituality, have an intangible part to really, what do they mean? And they can feel so metaphysical. Like, it can feel like God is telling you this person was meant for you, and no matter what they say, keep pursuing. It can tell you these kinds of things. What's it really about? Well, we figured out what lust was really about in the sense of, well, what in the real world is related to these feelings that we would characterize as intangible, though they're feelings and as tangible as feelings must be. What's it mean? Well, it's there to help us procreate and survive. Feeling of hunger, same thing. Well, less fey, right? Because we're even more interested in making sure that we eat. So probably before we were verbal, we got some conception of the meaning of hunger and food, the relationship there. The feeling of hunger, the feeling of pleasure that when you eat. Okay, and so it's all about the survival of getting nutrition. But the feeling itself, it could just be called just as intangible as all of the way we like to call ideas intangible in general. But we found out how it was linked to the material reality. So the question would be, how are the spiritual experiences linked? What is the link to reality? Why are we getting these? Why would the genes, just to put it in language as if the genes were willing, why would the genes want, us to have the spiritual feelings? So on one level, there's going to be this sense of awe. We're trying to just organize and categorize our sense of awe. On the other hand, it's going to be, okay, well, what gives us awe? And that's where spirituality becomes personal, because, yeah, I go out at the stars and look at the stars and feel awe, and I kind of think everybody should. But I've met people that say it does nothing for them. I still tend to feel, well, maybe they're not really looking, but no, they probably are really looking, and it just doesn't do anything for them. So that's the first sense in which spirituality is going to be personal, is that different kinds of experiences give us each that sense of awe. And I believe we're supposed to follow that individually. Not oppress, excuse me, not oppress it on others. Coughing and smoking, I get a comment. But we would look at those experiences. I find that those experiences are those that are giving me a feeling of connection with the world. I can feel like a speck of sand in a big universe, but that also is significant in the sense we're all a speck of sand. The whole planet is just a speck of sand. And I can also feel really big. I mean, I've got parts of myself. My body is teeming with life as well. So I feel that my spiritual experiences are those that give me this connection. And I can see, as with lust or hunger, why the DNA might want that, because we actually are related. Why would I go out in nature and feel this connection with the jungle and everything in it? And, well, we all have the same DNA. We're all cousins. I mean, compared to me and the rock, you know, me and the banana tree are like that in terms of our relationship. That's a cousin of mine. So why would the DNA want to promote a feeling of familial association between me and the rest of the universe? Because, yeah, that really is my family. I really am a part of the universe. I really do share some identity with all the other living things. So anyway, that's my answer. Yeah, we can need new words, but I think it's worth struggling, and why this materialist definition is going to work is because it's compatible with an approach for epistemology in all things, starting from materialism, which is, in my case, a solipsistic materialism that's based on defining material as whatever is behind the patterns that we see in the senses, whatever it is. If it's a dream or software, fine, then that's material. You define that way, you end up with this material spirituality, and you actually can pursue it and start to study your sense of wonder. And some of them we might end up saying, well, that's wonder, but it's not spiritual. Or as I said, maybe we'll find out that all of the feeling of wonder is really what spirituality is about. And how significant that is, I don't know. How did it turn out with lust? Well, I mean, we still follow some of the almost metaphysical ideas of, like, when it feels like it's meant to be, we go with that feeling often. Even if intellectually we think, well, that's just how I'm feeling because of these biological things and I'm programmed to. And I think that we'll have a similar thing with spirituality. And we'll find that there really is something important to us, that it communicates a function of our survival in nature and the way that it has to work, and that it's a good side, and that we should all listen to these experiences and try to figure out what they mean for us, and then as individuals, but then also us as shared, right? If everybody in your family is having different spiritual experiences, you can take those in and categorize and work on that information the same way you do it for your own individual. You can do it for a society or a species as well. So that's my idea of spirituality, why the word's not bullshit, why we need the word, why we can't give up and leave the word to those that would make it just metaphysical, and about the spirit world. You notice, mine is not about a spirit world. To me, the spirit world is just the mental world of ideas. It's material, it's a physical, it's not a spirit world in the traditional sense. It's not non-physical. There is no spirit world in my spirituality. It's not because I believe in the spirit, okay? It's not because I'm accepting substantial assertions about the substance of spirit. No, it's that we have spiritual experiences, and we're going to information process based on that data. Because that's what we do in general. We get experiences and perceptions of something, we information process. That's all we do. That's 100% of what we do, and that's what we should do in the area of spirituality. And we can. I think we'll find that it's difficult to characterize and do the act of indication on feelings. Given the millions of years that we've had to try, we can do that, and we can describe the feelings enough that, yeah, there is something similar, to my spiritual experiences and someone else's, especially for, say, someone that does share a spiritual feeling towards looking at the stars at night. We go out to a beautiful, clear sky together. We're both having a similar experience. We describe it, and we can find out that, yeah, whatever the differences are, because of our different subjective seats, that we're different people, there's also some commonality in the way that it's making us feel, so that we can talk about it, at once. We can all talk about these spiritual feelings. They're not exactly the same, but the feelings of lust and hunger aren't exactly the same either. We all have our own metabolism that makes all the details different, but there still are some generalities that we can discuss and learn from. And that's what we should do in spirituality. And I think it's eminently doable with this material, spiritual foundation or starting point. Cheers.